Here is the recap of the 7th season of Supernatural. Cass proclaims himself the new god and advises the Winchesters to stay out of his sight. Realizing that they have no weapons against their former friend, the trio is forced to retreat. Dean repairs his car while thinking about his brother's condition because the wall in his head has fallen, and now anything can happen. Nevertheless, Sam assures everyone that he is fine and in complete control of the situation, although in reality this is not true, and he is constantly seeing things. Meanwhile, Cass walks the earth and punishes all those who commit evil deeds under the guise of God. Realizing that the world is once again on the edge, the Winchesters and Bobby decide to summon Crowley to find out from him the spell that can enslave death. Dean is convinced that only he has the power to kill Cass. Having gathered everything necessary for the ritual, the main characters summon death, and soon Cass appears. He is about to kill the brothers, but does not have time. It turns out that along with the souls from purgatory, he has also absorbed ancient powerful beings. Death warns Cass of the danger because the Leviathans are capable of destroying everyone. Nevertheless, the angel assures him that he has everything under control and then disappears. He gets to the senator, and after a while it turns out that everyone who was in that building died at his hands. Death decides once again to help the main characters save the world and asks them to force Cass to return the souls to purgatory. Sam tries to contact Cass, and he responds. Now he realizes that he is unable to control the Leviathans, who have taken control of him and killed dozens of people. He voluntarily agrees to give up his power and asks Dean for forgiveness for what he has done. At the appointed time, the door to purgatory opens and Cass returns the souls. But it turns out that the Leviathans have not left their hosts. Dean and Bobby find Sam, who can still see Lucifer, and together they set off in pursuit of Cass's vessel. The Leviathans enter the water, and a moment later, the angel's vessel explodes underwater, releasing the powerful creatures of purgatory. Now these monsters can reach anywhere through the water supply. Dean and Bobby learn that Sam constantly sees Lucifer and begins to doubt where reality ends and hallucinations begin. The main characters don't know how to help him, so for now, they decide to just keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, the Leviathans find vessels for themselves, one of which is a surgeon at the local hospital, where Sheriff Jody, whom the main characters met in episode 15 of season 5, is currently hospitalized. Realizing that something is wrong, the woman calls Bobby and asks him to come. He goes to help, leaving Sam alone. Bobby's fears are confirmed because Leviathans are indeed wreaking havoc in the hospital, and it turns out that no known weapon can harm them. Unable to do anything, Bobby runs away. Dean returns home and realizes that Sam is missing. He tracks his brother using his beacon and learns that he is hallucinating again. Dean manages to help Sam by showing him which pain is real and which is not. At that moment, Bobby calls them and tells them what he has seen. The brothers decide to meet with him, but when they arrive at the location, they find a burned-down house and realize that Bobby has burned to death inside. Suddenly, the boys are attacked by Leviathans, after which Dean and Sam, seriously injured, end up in the very hospital from which Jody escaped. When Dean regains consciousness, he sees Bobby. It turns out that he didn't burn to death in the house, and now they need to hurry so that the monsters don't catch up with them. In the end, the trio manages to escape. 3 weeks later, the main characters are still living in Rufus's secret hideout, trying to figure out how to save the world again. Bobby searches for any information he can find, while Dean recovers from his broken leg and thinks about how to help Sam get rid of his hallucinations. Sam himself goes to the nearest store, where he finds a newspaper with a news summary. The case reminds him of a story from many years ago, when he first encountered a kitsune. Suspecting that these cases may be somehow connected, Sam leaves a note for his brother and leaves to investigate the murders. Soon his fears are confirmed, because Kitsune is indeed behind the deaths of several people, and they are already acquainted. This is how he finds Emmy. She confesses to what she has done, but tries to convince Sam that she is not dangerous to people. She works at a funeral home, where she eats without attracting unnecessary attention. The recent events are only related to the fact that her son is sick and needed fresh food. Considering that Emmy killed her own mother for him in the past, Sam decides to believe her and lets her go, which he tells Dean about. But his brother thinks differently. Dean finds Kitsune and kills her without Sam's knowledge. Soon, the Winchesters take on another case. A man is found in an apartment, as if he had been hit by a car, which of course, no one saw. After digging into the deceased's biography, the main characters learn that he was a recovering alcoholic who regularly ordered flowers for the grave of a girl who died in a car accident. The brothers assume that he was responsible for her death, and that her restless spirit took revenge on him. When the main characters are about to burn the remains, a new victim is discovered. The man was mauled by a dog in a cafe, and a few years earlier, he had organized dog fights. Soon, the Winchesters almost hit a man with their car. The stranger assures them that he has just seen the ghosts of the people he killed 30 years ago. After learning his story, the main characters find something in common among all the victims. They were all in the same bar where Dean goes. Sam learns from the man about the symbols he saw on the walls and passes them on to Bobby. It turns out that they have encountered the Egyptian god Osiris, who judges the souls of the dead, weighing their guilt. Bobby advises Sam to grab his brother and get as far away as possible because Dean has been particularly tormented by guilt lately. However, he does not have time to do anything, and Dina is kidnapped. He regains consciousness in a barn in front of Osiris, where Sam also arrives. Knowing who they are dealing with, the hunter offers to act as his brother's lawyer, hoping that this will help soften the sentence. Osiris makes concessions and calls the first witness. That person is Jo. She does not want to incriminate Dean, but God makes it seem as if he is guilty of her death. After a while, it becomes clear that the decision is not about the deity, but about the truth. If Dean truly does not suffer from guilt, then no one will punish him. Refusing to call the next witness, who could have been Emmy, Osiris confirms his guilt and sentences him to death, giving him a little time to put his affairs in order. Sam manages to find out how to kill the deity, or rather, banish it for several centuries. He finds a ram's horn and stabs the deity before Jo has time to kill Dean. After a while, the guys find another strange case in the news and go to the town to investigate the deaths in the barbershop and jacuzzi. After examining the scenes of death, Dean finds an ancient coin, and it soon becomes clear that all the victims were working on the same shopping center project. Moreover, the only one who worked with them and survived is the developer Don. During a conversation, it turns out that he had a falling out with his wife over a minor affair, and Dean decides to visit her in search of clues. His intuition does not fail him, and Maggie really turns out to be involved, because there is an altar set up in her closet. Realizing that Don's assistant will be the witch's next victim, the Winchesters go to her and manage to save her. Soon it turns out that Don is also a witcher. After learning from Bobby about a spell that can kill both of them, the Winchesters break into the couple's house, but the plan fails because the spell doesn't work. The witches are about to kill them, but Sam starts a conversation about their relationship, helping the couple overcome their crisis and reconcile. When the brothers return to the motel, a Leviathan appears at the door. It is ordered to kill them at any cost, but at that moment Don appears and casts a spell on the monster that can hold it back for a while. The main characters bring the Leviathan to the cabin. Together with Bobby, they try to find out how it found them and how it can be killed. The monster admits that it learned all their fake numbers when he was in Cass's shell, and he only tells them this because he is not afraid of them, since he cannot be killed. Soon the main characters learn from the news that Leviathans with their appearance are traveling around cities and committing mass murders. Bobby sends the main characters to his old friend Frank to help them cover their tracks and become literally invisible. The man replaces all their equipment and advises them not to stick their necks out, but the Winchesters cannot stand aside when monsters in their guise are killing people. So the main characters set off in search of them, but the brothers are spotted by the police and taken to the station. Fortunately, Bobby manages to find out how to slow down Leviathan and tells Dean about it. At first, the police officer does not believe the main character's story, thinking they are crazy, but then, seeing with his own eyes how the monsters devour his colleagues, he decides to trust the Winchesters. The main characters manage to neutralize the monsters that are hot on their heels. Sam tells his brother that Leviathan told him the truth about Emmy. The brothers quarrel, and Sam leaves. Meanwhile, Crowley tries to find his place in the sun and make a deal with the leader of the Leviathans, Dick. But the monster of purgatory makes it clear that he will not work with the demon. 2 weeks after their quarrel, the brothers meet to investigate the mysterious deaths of psychics. Sam has not yet forgiven Dean, but agrees to work with him anyway. While studying the cases, the main characters notice that all the victims had the same necklace. Believing that this item is cursed, the Winchesters find it in a shop, but it turns out that the necklace has nothing to do with the deaths. Soon, Dean receives a call from the granddaughter of the deceased psychic, from whom they learned about the shop, asking him to come. The thing is, her friend had a vision of her own death. Luckily, there is a video camera in the room, and after watching the recordings, it becomes clear that a ghost is involved in everything that is happening. Soon, the main characters manage to identify the spirit. It turns out that she and her sister were the founders of the city and possessed supernatural powers. Believing that she is killing the mediums, the Winchesters burn her bones, thereby preventing her from saying anything. The main characters think the case is closed, but events repeat themselves exactly as in the vision. As a result, Camilla dies, and the Winchesters realize that they have laid the wrong sister to rest. However, when they return to the cemetery, the main characters do not find her remains in the grave. It turns out that someone dug her up and bound her with a powerful spell. Soon, Sam figures out that the shop owner is behind it all, and he is right. He gets into a fight with the medium and ends up killing him, after which he finds the remains of the embittered spirit and burns them. Having successfully completed the job, Sam confesses to Dean that he really couldn't have killed Emmy, because they knew each other. He understands why his brother did what he did, but still asks him not to lie to him while looking him in the eye. Deciding to continue working together, the Winchesters split up again, and 4 days later, Dean learns that Sam has married his fan, Becky. Dean doesn't understand what's going on, but he's convinced that something is wrong because in this town, people's dreams come true. And a few days later, these lucky people mysteriously die. Dean hopes to investigate the string of deaths with his brother, but realizing that he has completely lost his mind since he started hunting with Becky, he asks Bobby to find him another hunter to partner with. So Dean meets Garth and goes to meet a simple working man who has unexpectedly climbed the career ladder. The hunters discover that the promotion was not his dream, but rather his wife's desire. The main characters find her, and Garth manages to save the woman from another accident in time. They learn that she made a deal with a demon, but it is unclear why people are dying since it is a 10-year contract. Meanwhile, Sam begins to come to his senses and realizes that Becky has indeed drugged him. She contacts her friend Guy, who gave her the elixir, and asks him for another bottle. Sam warns her that she is making a mistake, but she does not listen and goes to the meeting. Soon she realizes she was wrong, because Guy is the demon of the crossroads. He offers her a deal on very favorable terms. The demon promises her 25 years of love and harmony with Sam in exchange for her soul. At first, Becky hesitates, but then agrees. Dean and Garth find Sam, and they manage to convince Becky to change her mind. In the end, they lure the demon into a trap and find out exactly how he violates the terms of the contracts. Crowley appears and reprimands Guy for his recklessness, referring to the need to follow the terms of the contract, because otherwise people will stop making deals. Crowley cancels all recent deals and takes him away to make an example of the disobedient demon to the others. Sam divorces Becky and apologizes to his brother for the words he said under the influence of the elixir. The Winchesters and Bobby continue to hide from the Leviathans because the monsters know all their nicknames and credit card details, so they can't even stay in a motel. To avoid suffering deprivation, the main characters take on another case. The brothers question a ranger about the torn bodies in the forest, but learn nothing useful except that his colleague has also disappeared. The trio goes in search of him and soon discovers a corpse hanging from a tree. They call the ranger, and when he arrives, he is also attacked. Bobby manages to kill the attacker. He turns out to be a skinny man named Gerard, who until recently weighed 50 kilograms more. Examining the corpse, Bobby and Sam find gray slime and damaged internal organs. The trio goes to a local cafe where they try to figure out what happened to Gerard. At that moment, Sam notices strange behavior in Dean and everyone else eating burgers. Sam suspects that the behavior may be related to the food, so he takes the burger from his brother and brings it to the shelter. After a while, the same gray slime that they found inside Gerard begins to ooze out of it. Sam and Bobby decide to track down where the cafe buys its ingredients. The main characters discover that what is happening is somehow connected to the Leviathans, because they notice one of them, named Edgar, in the food warehouse. Soon Dick, one of the most influential and wealthy people in America, arrives. It turns out that the Leviathans have gotten to him too, which means they are plotting something global, and Bobby intends to find out what exactly. Meanwhile, Dick reprimands his subordinate for the experiment not going according to plan. After all, the task was to make people carefree and less emotional, not aggressive. As punishment and an example to the others, Dick forces the surgeon to eat himself. Bobby sees all this, but doesn't have time to tell the Winchesters because he is kidnapped. Dean and Sam arm themselves with chemicals and break into the building. The main characters manage to find their friend. The trio escapes, but Dick manages to shoot Bobby in the head. The main characters take Bobby to the hospital, and while he is there, he sinks into his own consciousness and wanders through his memories. There he meets Rufus, and together they try to find a door to wake up and pass on to the main characters the information he learned in Dick's office. So Bobby returns to the day when he killed his own father to protect his mother. Because of the horrors and fears he experienced in his childhood, he was afraid to have children, fearing that he would become like his father. Because of this, he quarreled with his wife Karen a few days before her obsession and death. Soon, Bobby meets the Reaper, who asks him to go with him because the bullet is about to destroy all his memories, and then he will remain a ghost on Earth, which will eventually turn into an evil spirit. At that moment, Bobby manages to wake up for a moment and write down the sequence of numbers from Dick's office. The main characters manage to say goodbye before Bobby's heart stops. The Reaper asks once again what his answer will be, but Bobby does not respond and remains in his last memory with Dean and Sam, which soon disappears. Several weeks pass after Bobby's death. The main characters try to understand what the numbers he wrote before his death mean, but to no avail. At that moment, a teenager named Chrissy calls Bobby's phone and asks for help. Sam decides to take on the case, while Dean goes to Frank, hoping to hurry him up in his search for answers. In the end, they manage to find out what the numbers meant. It turns out that they are the coordinates of the area where Dick is going to build something. Frank connects to the surveillance cameras and, together with Dean, watches what is happening on the site. At the same time, he advises the hunter to stop beating himself up as he once did. 26 years ago, he found his wife and children dead and made a commitment to himself to live until the next week as if nothing had happened, because that's their job. At this time, Sam arrives at Chrissy's house and learns that her father has not been in contact for 5 days. He sets out to find him and stumbles upon a Vitala. After reading his father's diary, Sam believes that this creature hunts alone, but he is mistaken and falls into a trap. Soon, Chrissy calls Dean and tells him about Sam's disappearance. He comes to her and tries to find some clues. But it turns out that the teenager knows about her father's business and asks to go with him. In the end, they find the Vitala's lair, and Dean, leaving Chrissy in the car, goes to rescue his brother and the girl's father. But the plan gets out of control because the creatures are stronger. At that moment, Chrissy appears, having managed to remove her handcuffs and follow Dean. She distracts the Vitala and then kills it, saving the lives of the main characters, while Sam finishes the job by killing the monster's partner. In the end, this case shows the Winchesters that they need to continue hunting and saving people, while also searching for Dick to avenge Bobby's death. Soon, Sheriff Jody calls Sam and tells him about the mummification of several missing persons. The main characters take on the case and find a witness to the latest incident. The man tells them about a red ball of energy that someone took from the victim's body. After that, the victim instantly aged and turned into a mummy. The Winchesters find similar cases in the past, but cannot establish any connection between the victims, the murder scene, or the motive. The only thing that unites all these cases is the number of victims. There are always 3, which means that 1 remains. From news reports of past cases, the Winchesters find Terry, who found the body. From her, the main characters learn where the suspect is likely to live and set up surveillance. When he finally appears and dries out his 3rd victim, Dean attacks him, after which he disappears before Sam's eyes. Dean is transported back to 1944 and teams up with another hunter, Elliot, as they are both searching for the same person. Meanwhile, in the present, Jody helps Sam find information, and the main characters learn that they are dealing with Kronos, the Greek god of time. They have the spell they need to summon and kill him, but if Dean isn't with him at that moment, he'll be stuck in the past forever. For the plan to work, they need to know the exact date and time when Dean will be near Kronos. They get this information from Lila, Kronos' beloved, who has lived to the present day. She remembers 2 police officers he killed, one of whom was Dean. Sam and Jody prepare for the ritual, while Dean and Elliot attack Kronos. The god admits that he kills people to regain control over time travel because he is in love with Lila and wants to live with her in her time. At this moment, the ritual takes effect, and the deity, along with Dean, is transported to the present day. Sam kills him, and before dying, Kronos declares that he can see their future, and it is covered in a layer of black Leviathan slime. News emerges of brutal murders of men. Someone is cutting off their limbs and then carving a symbol on their chests. The Winchesters have never seen such a symbol before, so they decide to consult a local professor. The main characters learn that they are dealing with Amazons, whom they have never seen before. At the same time, Dean is watching the house of Lydia, whom he met in a bar and spent the night with. The thing is, her behavior seemed strange to him, and the hunter's intuition did not fail him. The next day, Lydia gave birth to a daughter who turned from a baby into a teenager in just a few hours. Sam and Dean learn that the Amazons' children are multiplying rapidly, and that all of the deceased men met the women at the same bar as Dean. He realizes that the girl he saw at Lydia's house is his daughter. While the brothers try to find something useful, Dean notices that the papers have been moved and thinks that Bobby's spirit is still with them. Sam dismisses these thoughts and goes to the professor to have him translate the ancient writings. He learns that the initiation rite for newborns is to kill their father. Meanwhile, Emma comes to Dean and asks for help. She says she doesn't want to become like everyone else. And then, waiting for the right moment, she tries to attack him, but Dean stops her. Sam appears and kills Emma. They fail to eliminate the rest of the Amazons as they manage to escape. One day, a father dies, allegedly killed by a giant octopus, and soon after, another parent is pierced by a unicorn horn. The only thing these 2 cases have in common is a visit to an entertainment center. Here, Sam finds a technician who promises to share information after closing time, but he doesn't have time to say anything and dies in a ball pit, allegedly from a shark bite. The main characters begin to guess that children's drawings of their fears are coming to life, but it is not yet clear why they are killing everyone. Sam decides to question each employee, hoping that one of them will give themselves away. Soon, an animator comes in for interrogation, and the guys learn about the basement, from which strange sounds often came. Meanwhile, another drawing disappears. Sam decides to follow the boy and his mother, in case they need help. Meanwhile, Dean goes down to the basement and finds an altar with ancient spells. Eventually, the culprit appears, who turns out to be an employee of the play area. After a tragedy in his childhood, he decided to help children by ridding them of their wayward parents using his own method. He immediately realized that the Winchesters were not actually federal agents, so he set Sam's worst nightmare in the form of clowns on him. While he fights them, Dean comes up with a plan. He learns that the wizard's brother died in childhood, so he follows his example and embodies fear. A boy appears and kills his brother, and at that moment, the clowns that attacked Sam disappear. The brothers take on another case. 4 years ago, They already encountered a demon that possessed Jeffrey's body. Back then, they managed to exorcise him, and the guy survived. But now, judging by the clues, the demon has returned to town. An old acquaintance, Nora, hints that the demon may have possessed Jeffrey again, so Dean and Sam decide to check it out. The guy turns out to be clean, but he does remember something useful. He is sure he knows who the demon's next victim will be. So Sam goes to watch over the woman, while Dean, trusting Jeffrey, follows him to the hangar. There he finds a tied-up guy, but doesn't have time to free him because he is injected with something. Meanwhile, Sam watches over the potential victim, trying to ignore his hallucinations. Then he studies the autopsy reports again and notices something strange. He realizes that the series of murders is not the work of a demon at all, but of a human being, and Nora knows who he is. It turns out that Sam's intuition is right, and the woman really is aware of what is going on. The thing is, Jeffrey kidnapped her son and demanded that she give him a spell capable of summoning that very demon. But for this, he needs the blood of the one who exorcised it, which is why Jeffrey needed Dean himself. Meanwhile, Jeffrey tells Dean that he enjoyed being possessed. It turns out that he is a psychopath who wanted to kill even before the demon arrived, but he lacked the courage to do so. With the demon's arrival, everything changed and he felt his power for the first time, which he intends to regain at any cost. The spell works, but the demon possesses Nora's son. He abandons Jeffrey's vessel, claiming that he has taught him everything he needed to know. Sam and Nora arrive and exorcise the demon, and Dean kills Jeffrey. Back at the motel, Sam realizes that his hallucinations are out of control, and he can no longer banish Lucifer. While there is still no news about the Leviathan Dick, the brothers travel to a small town where a ballerina literally lost her legs while dancing. The main characters think that it's all about the point shoes, so they take them and find out where the deceased bought them. This leads them to the seller, Scott, whose mother died last week. He was selling her belongings. It turns out that the point shoes weren't the only ones. Scott sold several other items, and it turns out that they were all cursed. The Winchesters take the antiques from their new owners and are about to leave, but their plans change when they discover that Leviathans are operating under the guise of real estate agents buying up stores. The monsters of purgatory lure the Winchesters, but one of them helps the brothers behead his boss, after which he declares that Dick intends to build a research center to find a cure for cancer. Sam's condition is getting worse. He hasn't slept in 5 days because of his hallucinations. As a result, while running away from another vision of Lucifer, Sam gets into an accident and ends up in the hospital. There, the doctor transfers him to the psychiatric ward and gives him a sleeping pill, which has no effect on him. Sam gradually gets worse, and Dean decides to find a shaman who can help him. After going through Bobby's entire notebook, he finds nothing. But then a business card with the right number falls out onto the floor. Soon, Dean gets a call back and is told about a man who can heal any illness. Dean goes to the address, but meets Cass there. He is the healer everyone is talking about, but he doesn't remember his past and doesn't know he's an angel. Dean asks him to go to Sam, and he agrees. At the gas station, Dean is attacked by demons, and Meg helps him get out of this mess. She offers him a temporary alliance, considering that Crowley is now their common enemy. Dean agrees, and the trio drives to the clinic to see Sam. The hospital is full of demons, and they only have one knife. Meg suggests telling Cass everything so that he can remember his past and destroy the demons. Dean is against it, but Cass overhears their conversation. He expels the demons, and at that moment, his memory returns. The angel blames himself for what happened and cannot go to Sam because of his guilt, since he destroyed the wall in his head. Nevertheless, Dean manages to persuade him. Cass tries to heal Sam. However, nothing works because the wall is completely destroyed. Realizing that there is no other way out, Cass transfers the remains of the wall along with Lucifer into his own head, thereby healing Sam. The Winchesters leave, and Meg gets a job as a nurse at the clinic to look after the crazy angel. Garth hunts down the ghost that killed a teenager in the woods. He burns its remains, but after a while it becomes clear that the killings have not stopped, so he calls Dean and asks for help. So the trio heads to the brewery to talk to the father of the murdered boys. Meanwhile, another murder takes place, witnessed by a little girl. She says she drank an adult beverage and saw a monster, which was the killer. The trio learns that they are dealing with an alcoholic spirit that can only be seen when drunk. The main characters manage to find out who the next victim will be and save the guy from death in time. When the case is closed, Dean and Sam begin to seriously think that Bobby's spirit is following them because of the flask, since Garth is right and the sensor constantly malfunctions, indicating the presence of a ghost. Moreover, when the sword flew off in the other direction earlier, someone pushed it right into his hands, and the phone number of the hunter who sent it to Cass also fell out by accident. The main characters ask Bobby to appear if he is really there, and when they don't see him, they leave. At this moment, Bobby comes out of hiding and follows the flask. Dean receives a call from Annie, a hunter, who suggests meeting to give them Bobby's books. The main characters agree to meet, but she does not show up. Later, it turns out that she went to an old mansion where teenagers who had gone missing were last seen. However, she is attacked, and Annie dies. In an attempt to figure out what is going on, Dean and Sam arrive at the mansion, but they do not find Annie's body and think they were mistaken, so they leave. At the same time, Bobby, who was following the flask, meets Annie's ghost and tells her that he escaped from the Reaper, which is why he is stuck in this world as a spirit. At the mansion, the dead hunters meet Haskell and ask him to teach them how to move objects. Dean and Sam learn the history of the mansion, which, as it turns out, was a brothel, and over the following decades, several dozen people died there. Bobby listens to the brothers' conversations and tries to do everything he can to get them to return to the house. He even manages to leave a message on the fogged-up glass and sign it with his own name. The Winchesters return to the house, where Annie asks the spirit of one of the brothel workers, Victoria, to appear and tell the main characters what is happening. The thing is, the spirit of Whitman, the owner of this estate, is still here, and he consumes other souls, which is why he kills people so that he always has a supply of energy. As soon as Victoria mentions what is happening, she is also consumed. Whitman throws the Winchesters an object that keeps him in this world and follows the main characters, trying to kill them. The brothers manage to get rid of the embittered spirit and return him to the estate, where Bobby and Anne find the bodies of all those killed in this house and prepare to burn them. Whitman flies into a rage and tries to consume Bobby, but the Winchesters manage to burn the remains of the estate's owner. Returning to the house, the brothers see Bobby for the first time in a long time. They are both happy and confused, because they know what happens to spirits stuck in this world. The main characters continue to rack their brains over what Dick is going to build on the vacant lot, the coordinates of which Bobby gave them. Then Bobby himself appears. He tells the main characters that the Leviathans are no longer hunting humans because they have become righteous, but because they have decided to raise the perfect herd for food. For this reason, Dick buys up snack bars and adds a gray slime to the food that suppresses people's emotions and minds. Soon, a letter arrives from Frank, in which he announces his death. The letter says that someone is trying to hack into a hard drive containing all the data on Dick and the main characters themselves. Fortunately, he installed a beacon, and now the brothers know exactly where the hack is coming from. Meanwhile, the corporation has a talented hacker named Charlie working for them. Dick finds her and gives her Frank's hard drive, demanding that she hack it as soon as possible. She manages to complete the task, but when she sees a folder with Dick's name on it, she can't resist her curiosity and opens it. This is how Charlie learns about the Leviathans and their plans for humanity. Soon the Winchesters find her and confirm the truth of what she found on the drive. They ask her to hack into Dick's email, hoping that it will help them understand why he dug up half the world and what his next move will be. Charlie agrees, and the main characters head to the company's office. There, the hacker manages to bypass security and download all the data from Dick's computer. Unzipping folder after folder, Charlie tells the Winchesters about a package that the villain is supposed to pick up today. The brothers manage to outsmart the Leviathans and switch the cases, thereby taking the package for themselves. Dick immediately realizes that Charlie is involved in all this, so he blocks the exits from the office. The Leviathans attack her, but Bobby, who had previously slipped his flask into her backpack to get back at Dick, breaks the glass. The Winchesters return in time and rescue Charlie. Upon opening Dick's package, the main characters find a piece of clay and decide to break it. However, each blow is accompanied by a piercing sound that puts teenager Kevin into a trance and sends him to the Winchesters. It turns out that inside the piece of clay was a tablet with ancient writing on it, but the main characters don't have time to decide what to do with it, because Meg calls and tells them that Cass has awakened. The brothers go to the clinic to see the angel and notice how much he has changed. Cass remembers everything he has done, but now behaves differently and no longer intends to fight the forces of evil. Soon the tablet accidentally falls and breaks, and Kevin steals its fragments. Sam and Meg manage to catch up with him, after which the angels appear. They declare that he is a prophet and must go with them. With the help of a spell, Dean sends the angels away and, together with his brother, Meg and Kevin, goes to Rufus's cabin, hoping that the prophet will be able to translate Metatron's words and they will understand how to kill Dick. Soon the angels return and a fight breaks out with Cass. Meg saves him by killing the attackers. Meanwhile, Kevin passes on the notes with the translation of the tablet, and the Winchesters learn how to kill Dick. To do this, they will need the bone of a righteous man, washed with the blood of 3 fallen ones, including an angel. Cass gives them a vial of his blood and disappears, as does Meg. The angels return Kevin to his mother, where Edgar is already waiting for him. Bobby tells the main characters what kind of blood was written on the tablet. He is convinced that it must be a fallen angel, the king of hell, and the Alpha. After receiving the necessary ingredient from Cass, the brothers summon Crowley, but the demon has a condition. He will give them his blood as soon as they collect all the other ingredients. Moreover, he even gives them the address of the Alpha vampire, who managed to escape from his prison. Meanwhile, it becomes known that Dick has bought another syrup manufacturing company. In an interview, he assures that he is doing everything possible to make food tastier, hinting at people rather than food in its usual sense. The Winchesters arrive at Alpha's place, but they are unable to convince him to help them right away. The thing is, he has an agreement with the Leviathans, so he wants to talk to Edgar first. When he comes to see him, he confirms the Winchesters' words that they want to get rid of the vampires. It's all about limited resources, because there are only 7 billion people on the planet, and if every monster feeds on them, there will simply be no Leviathans left. That's why they added a special ingredient to the syrup that is added to almost every product. This substance not only slows people down, depriving them of emotions and critical thinking, but also poisons vampires and other monsters that feed on humans. Edgar is about to kill Alpha, but the Winchesters arrive in time to save the ancient vampire, after which he voluntarily gives them his blood. Returning to the motel, the brothers realize that Bobby has escaped, taking someone's body with him. Through blackmail, Dick manages to find out from Kevin what exactly is written on the tablet. This is how Leviathan learns about the weapon against his kind. Therefore, having failed to destroy the vampire Alpha, the monster summons Crowley. He offers the King of Hell a deal, according to which he and other demons will be given the whole of Canada, where they can do whatever they want, while America will belong to the Leviathans. In return, he needs him to give the Winchesters not his blood, thereby spoiling the ritual. Crowley agrees, then tells the Winchesters what happened and gives them a vial of blood, assuring them that he is not going to deceive them. Having made their weapon, the main characters go to Dick's office, intending to catch him and kill him, because according to the manuscripts, after his death, all his kin will also die. But things don't go according to plan, because Dick, not believing Crowley's word, gave the real Dick's hand to the other Leviathans, thereby cloning himself. At this moment, Sam notices a maid near the office and realizes that Bobby has possessed her. He tries to dissuade him from his rash decision, but Bobby's anger and rage only grow stronger, and he can no longer control himself. Bobby attacks Sam and begins to strangle him. Only when he sees his reflection in the glass does he back off and leave the maid's body. The Winchesters return to the cabin, where they try to figure out what to do next, since no one knows how to tell which Dick is the real one. At that moment, Meg suggests an idea to the brothers. She is sure that Cass can recognize the leader of the Leviathans, since they were in his vessel for some time. However, the angel does not want to get involved in the fight, although he soon changes his mind when he sees the Winchesters say goodbye to Bobby and burn the flask that kept his spirit on Earth. In the end, Cass goes to Dick's office with the Winchesters. While Sam rescues Kevin, Dean kills Dick. The Leviathan vessel literally explodes, and Dean and Cass disappear before Sam's eyes. He doesn't know what to do now or where to look for his brother. Then Crowley appears and claims that there was a catch with the weapon. He takes Kevin and disappears. Meanwhile, Dean regains consciousness in a dark forest and learns from Cass that they have ended up in purgatory. This is the end of the 7th season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.